All right. Hello, everyone. We're back and we're joined today with Renee. Renee, can you introduce yourself a little?
Hi, my name is Renee. I'm from Great Falls, Montana, and I'm now living in Suzhou, China. I'm a kindergarten teacher here.
All right. Thank you, Renee. And what is it that you struggled with?
Coming from China, I struggled with, or coming to China rather, I struggled with a lot of issues back home. I had some, self-esteem issues, some issues where I couldn't figure out like how to be more, how do I want to say? I wasn't able to really tell people what I needed. I was a little bit afraid of that, what kind of response I would get from them. And at any rate, at some point, I just might have, for lack of a better term, maybe I might have had a small breakdown and was asked by a former colleague how I would feel about coming to China. She knew that I wanted to try something new, but to be honest with you, was too scared. So she finally put her foot down and she said, I've got the place. You've got a job here if you want it, and so I bit the bullet, as we say sometimes, and I decided to move to China. And then that comes with a few other new concerns or issues. Yeah, so I came to China, and it was really interesting in the beginning. They say you have this honeymoon period, and in the beginning it was pretty interesting. You're seeing new things, you're experiencing things you've never seen or heard or tasted before. And I was lucky though, because I had somebody on the other side to welcome me and to make sure that I, didn't get lost or different things like that. So I was really lucky. But as time went on, the issue of language, friendship, loss, friendships in China are good friendships because you kind of find people that they say your tribe. And so you find a few people that have similar ideas that you do, but then they move along. And the language is not the easiest. I made the mistake of maybe not learning more before I came here. So that has its own troubles. And then loss, we come to China, and we're very lucky because it's a nice place to live. Teachers here, in your contract, you get a housing allowance. Sometimes you get a transportation allowance, you get a flight home allowance, different things like this. However, your family's not here. And really, you're making about the same amount of money as you would back home. But you don't have to, you don't have the worry of paying for an apartment and a car, because in most places in the US, you need a car regardless. But as we all know, I came to China in 2017, and things were pretty free and easy, right? We could leave, come and go as we wanted to. People were, taking off and going to some really great trips. And then COVID hit, and we didn't go anywhere. And that really was a huge struggle, another sort of loss, the loss of, if you will, freedom to travel, the freedom to just decide to go see your family. In some cases, for many people, the loss of their family. Knock on wood, I was really lucky. I did lose some people in my life that were like family, but they weren't my family. And so I was really blessed that didn't happen. I finally did get to go home this February and see my immediate family, two of my brothers and their family, and my mom, which was really, really good. But there again, there's a loss. My mom's 93. She's not the same person that I left when I came to China. She wasn't the same person I left the last time I was home, which was 2019.
All right. Well, that does sound like a pretty bad struggle, and I can understand leaving your own country and flying halfway around the world being something pretty bad. What have you done to overcome your struggles?
Well, I'm in Suzhou, and Suzhou has a pretty heavy expat community. So I've been able to find different groups to hang around with. There's a group called GGI, Girls Gone International, and they have a lot of different events, book clubs, or sip and paints and different things like that. So that's been a really nice group to find. WeChat always has different groups. And so you join these different groups and eventually you have these WeChat friends and then sometimes you even get to meet them. I also enjoy art and culture a lot. So I am constantly taking different art classes that are being provided for foreigners so that we can understand the culture better. Taking Chinese classes, which, one day those will work. Again, with the friends, you find friends and you find people that have been, are married to the local person. But again, that's another one of those things where you become really good friends with somebody and maybe because of, COVID or whatever, they've just said, forget it and thrown in the towel and they head back to their home country. But but for the most part, just, trying to find what makes me happy. I just recently started a YouTube channel, which I'm still yet to put some videos on, but it's called the Ignore It Gardener. And just to roam around, China and take some snaps of some really good gardens and get some gardening tips. I have a tendency to just put stuff in water or place stuff into dirt and see what happens. So it's kind of just a fun channel. We'll see what comes of it, but that should hopefully occupy some of my time. I've also taken up the challenge of making the perfect macaron, which is not always easy either. So just trying to find things that give me joy and pursue them. And a big problem I have is procrastination and self-doubt. And so I've really been trying to push through those by having friends of mine help me with YouTube channels or taking their advice or their encouragement and actually doing something with it as opposed to just going, oh, he's being nice or she's being thoughtful or whatever, and just saying, no, they don't say it unless they mean it. Because I will tell you, that's one thing I've found here in China is the expats, they will tell you what they think. There's no more of this, kind of pussyfooting around. And the locals tell you exactly, in most cases, they don't understand that going around in circles places, or going around in circles. Some people say, oh yeah, they're professionals at it, but I've found that if you ask a local a question, they're going to give you a pretty straight answer. So anyway, just finding places things and places I enjoy to visit, things I enjoy doing, little by little overcoming the struggle.
Wow, well, that's great that you've found some things to help you out, and I'll make sure to put the link to your channel in the video description so that people can find you. As you've been working on these struggles, did you find there are any thoughts or obstacles or anything like that were in your way?
Well, yes. One of the obstacles, which is huge here for me, is the language. As I mentioned, I love cooking and gardening and things like that. And people are pretty helpful with teaching you. But I find that if I'm planning to stay here in China, I need to learn the language. And that's not just the languages we know. I mean, the alphabet, there's pinyin here, but the signs are not in pinyin typically. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Really learning the language has been a big obstacle for me. And as I mentioned, I'm a bit of a procrastinator and self-doubter. So I put it off, or I think I can't do it. And then, sometimes I surprise myself and I find myself actually understanding what somebody's saying and I'm speaking to them in Chinese. And then there's other times where I just get so overwhelmed that, maybe I'm in the tax office or something, trying to get some help with something. And, my husband doesn't really understand because his English is not so great. And I'm just so frustrated that I can't listen. And you definitely need to listen. So that's a big obstacle, is the language for me. Meeting people, not a big deal because I'm pretty outgoing. So, they say a smile goes a mile, right? And I find that, I smile at a lot of people and they want to get to know me. Not everybody, but some folks. But yeah, I've just really got to get down there and start or get to working on the language. Age is a big deal. I feel like I'm 25 still and I'm not. Looking for some jobs. Some places were very adamant that they did not want anyone over 45. I'm well over 45, which makes it a little scary, right? Because I have to work and I'm not putting into the social insurance program here, which I, again, procrastinated. I really need to look into that. because what am I going to do, for the long run if we indeed stay here? So a few obstacles, but slowly, hopefully work through those.
I see. And yeah, I can see how certain things like that. I mean, I've gone through some self-doubt and things. Do you feel like there was a aha moment where maybe something just clicked and helped you on your journey?
As far as aha, to be honest with you, I think it was just with COVID, it felt like the expats really had to come together. And I feel like a lot of the struggle, we were all going through the same struggle, or some were going through it worse. And I think that was really my aha, like, you know what, let's just be thankful that, they always say somebody else has it harder than you do. And it's hard to think like that in some terms, but when you're seeing it and you're really seeing what lengths some people are going to get out, and in some cases never being able to come back because they've maybe taken the final leap, literally, just trying to realize, I just realized, I'm stronger than I thought I was, and that I can say enough is enough. I can be the person I want to be. It's, I try not to say it's too late, but I'm really trying to tell myself, so many people have started a second life in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever, that I'm telling myself, hey, you got this, you can do it too. But as far as like the aha moment, really just kind of realizing that, the world is just a big bubble and we're all in it together, and, being able to say what you want to say is great.
Well, maybe Colonel Sanders was in his 60s when he started KFC, and it's become a global empire, so it's never too late to start. Would you say that you think the struggle is over, or is it something that you're still kind of dealing with?
It is definitely not over. I'm learning every day how to cope with it. Another one of the aha moments was, you're going to have to learn Chinese. I mean, come on, quit being silly. But to be honest with you, I don't think it'll ever be over. I mean, I think that people that they wake up every morning and they're happy every morning. A lot of folks I've heard say that, oh, well, we don't have any struggles, but I think there are struggles. I think it doesn't matter if you're one of those folks that wakes up every morning and I'm going to make today a great day, and you do your best to do that, but I think there's always a struggle in there. For me, being a procrastinator, I mean, in high school, my Chinese, I wish I would have taken Chinese in high school, wasn't offered. My biology teacher, Mr. Kenska, called me procrastinosis. That's from a heck of a long time ago. There's a struggle for me every day. Whether it's mentally, physically, psychologically, and, I just got to keep punching through, if you will. It's going to be a journey. It's not going to be a speed train from, Suzhou to Shanghai, 15 minutes, It's going to be the old clunky train, but little by little, I'm chipping away.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm happy you're on the path to overcoming some of these things and these struggles. I think it's always a long journey. Now, once you recognize what the problem was and what the struggle was, and I think you've kind of talked a little about this, but if you want to add anything else, what resources helped you find your way through it, find your way out of it?
So some of the resources that I was able to find here in China, one is called Lifeline Connect, and I'll give that information to Nick, and they help people throughout China, regardless foreign or domestic, mental health issues. They have a call-in. You can call in. They have folks that speak Chinese, English, different volunteers that man the phones to help you work through what you need. Another program, I was able to take a training through Lifeline Connect. It was called ASSIST, ASIST, and it's called Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. And that was to try to just keep that person safe for that day, for that moment. It was a really interesting training, and I'll give Nick the information on that too. But even for myself, because I struggle with suicide from time to time, and people poo-poo that, but this training actually really has helped me kind of talk to myself, really. But also at our school in China is very intense. Reports of children and young adults committing suicide due to the pressure. That training helped me speak to a young woman, and I'm not saying I saved her life or anything, but it gave me the skills to cope with having to do that. So that gave me some strength too, because I had had suicidal thoughts, and to be frank, still do. But there are people out there that are really committed to that thought, and training really helped me realize, just keep yourself safe for one day. Try to maybe, help the other person stay safe for one day. That was a really good resource. As I mentioned, these WeChat groups, really good resources. There are resources for anything from, female health, mental health, to activities, whatever you're interested in. And in those WeChat groups themselves, a lot of them have their own support system. Colleagues, a lot of the colleagues I've been working with have actually helped me with some aha moments. One guy in particular, he's also taught me to just, kind of relax, which I'm still working on that. That's a big thing to chip. I worry about a lot of things, but he's actually helped me realize I don't need to worry about everything. And then, just having people in similar situations, it's not easy to be married anyway, but to have people that understand the struggle or understand the culture. Yeah, so it's really helpful. So those have been some really good resources. As far as language goes and stuff, I've gone to, I don't know how many different teachers, but some of my WeChat groups have been helpful. YouTube colleagues, again, they help me with attempting to improve my Chinese. So it's just really, the resources are out there. You just need to ask, right, and find out which one is best for you and in your situation. And sometimes it's not. Maybe you'll go someplace and think this is going to help me a lot, and then in the end, it's not quite your cup of tea, or maybe not quite what you thought it was going to be. Yeah, so like I say, my colleagues have been really helpful. Different WeChat groups have been helpful. Different courses or classes or workshops have been really helpful.
Yeah, and well, I guess, first I want to say I'm glad that you've found some mental health help. I think that's a really big problem anywhere in the world. I can link some information in the description for anybody that's watching this in China. They've just started a new US-based thing for suicide, 988. So yeah, if you have any kind of mental health problems, definitely, go find help.
Yeah, I'll make sure I get that information to you.
Okay, yeah, and anything Renee's talked about, I'll try to, between the two of us, we'll try to find the information, and I'll either link it or have it pop up on the screen. If you could make a change, what changes would you make that you think would help you with this struggle?
Honestly, when you asked me that question just now, popping in my head immediately is language, right? I mean, we can pantomime all we want, but we really need to learn the language, and we really need to understand the culture from, wherever my assumption is wherever you go, right? It's best to understand the culture, and definitely language, if nothing else, help. Other changes, this might sound pretty tough, but I married pretty quickly. Not really quick. I mean, some people get married a lot sooner than I did, but of course, I care about my husband a lot, but I wish I would have given myself some more time to really get to know him and his way of thinking. And again, the language, right? You can understand the language, you can understand the culture to a point. And I feel like, especially in China, there are different levels of culture because of the Cultural Revolution and what they went through, and then the 80s. I mean, just different, there's big steps, if you will. And again, I think everybody is a little bit nervous when they get married, and sometimes they wonder if they made the right decision. Slowly getting to know him, the language. So that's another big thing. But it'll work itself out, right? So, yeah.
So I would say the first thing when you're trying to find help is just to recognize that you have a problem, which we've covered that. And then the second thing would be to find the resources you need to work your way through it. And seems like you've done a lot of that. What do you see for your future here in China or back in America?
So I'm still struggling with that because, as I mentioned, I'm married to a Chinese man and he has children. And so, the visa process is not easy. It probably sounds terrible, but it's no wonder why people literally go across the border. It could take 3 years for my husband to get to get a green card. So that's a struggle, a different struggle, right? And then do his children want to come along? Do we want to wait here in China? There's a lot of things happening. So at the current moment, just trying to be happy every day and trying to figure out how to get home for the summer. So, that's it for now.
Okay. And, thank you for sharing your story and sharing a lot of the resources. And before we go, do you have any additional advice for the audience?
I hope that it's not easy to ask for help. It's not, I know. When I did ask for help, to be honest with you, it didn't come and I was poo-pooed a lot, but just believe in yourself. If you think you need help, just keep searching until you find it. It could be your neighbor. It could be, the cashier at the grocery store you just happen to talk to. I've found more help by just saying what I need. And some people are just like, can't help you. And there's other people that are like, oh, really? Well, I've got these resources. So if you need help, please just ask. If you don't find it from one source, please try to go to another one. I know a lot of people, I myself, when I stress or I can't deal with things, I clutter my house up with what? I don't even know how I have so much crap in my house. I eat, and I'm trying to, that was another thing I'm dealing with, is trying not to put my issues in my mouth by form of food or bringing things into my house, self-medicate myself by eating or shopping. And that's been another aha moment. If I can go back to one of your questions, kind of see if there's a way you can focus in on what your triggers are. The Lifeline Connect website that I gave Nick, it actually has an article on there about triggers. YouTube is really full of people that have some really good advice about triggers, and they're just everyday people like you and me. So that's what I would say, ask for help. And, Nick, I appreciate that you started this channel because you're a very kind person and you want to help people. And I pray that this, I'm not a big religious person, but I do pray that, this can help people out there to just ask for help, if nothing else. And speaking of help, I want to thank you for all the help you've ever given me on my computer journey. And I do appreciate the mouse pad that you bought me that covers my entire desk, which of course is cluttered. And so I still ask you, how do you do a select page print? Anyhow, but yeah, thanks a lot, Nick. I appreciate you having me on your channel, and hope that this can help somebody. One person. That's all that matters, yeah?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'll say, let's spoil it for the audience. Renee and I are actually co-workers, but
yeah.
And yeah, I do agree. People just need to ask for help. And that's why I think bad things happen to good people, because they didn't seek the help they needed. You see it in the civilian world, you see it in the expat world, you see it in the Army world. Yeah, you just need to reach out, find a friend, and get the help you need. Well, thanks for talking. I want to thank you for talking today, Renee, and I'll make sure to plug your channel, and success for both of us.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. And it's just going to be a silly channel. But I do intend to, like say my channel, if I can shamelessly plug it again, the Ignore It Gardener. Our mind is like a garden too, right? We have to feed it. And if we ignore the signs that our body, our mind are telling us, we can't grow. And that's another bit about the Ignore It Gardeners, is that it was a play on words, but really I hope to encourage people to get out there in nature, in gardening, and maybe find some peace, find some place that they can go and be peaceful and restful. So, it's going to be a bit of a silly channel, but also I want to make sure that there is some seriousness to it, that people can, maybe have a mind garden, right? So anyhow, but thank you very much, Nick, and signing out.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye.